Hey, it's Mike with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's June 1st. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and we're starting a new month. Believe it or not, we're into the summer months, and we'll be starting rolling over to the uh, September contract here in a week or so. So be prepared for that. But I don't know where the time's going, but this year is almost halfway over. Seems like we just started January. But anyway. Hope everybody had a nice extended holiday. I know I did. I'm a little behind. I'm about caught up on email. I haven't been able to read much in the forum, so I'm a little bit behind. It'll take me a few days to catch up, so bear with me. Um, anyway, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to get to the chart lesson here and get this out of the way since it's almost 7 o'clock and I'm just now getting a chance to do this. But really, we just had a range day. Actually, I would at the end of the day, I would characterize this as mostly a downtrend. You can see we had the real steep downtrend that led into this two-tiered channel, and we got a break here of it, and we moved and we finally made a new low, but we really just kind of chopped back down into that upper half of that two-tiered channel working there. Let me just make this one a little different color just so it's easier to see. The yellow one's the one I'm talking about. Of course, we got the several micro channels inside that. So really, I would say from 8 o'clock, really just at the open, where it turns white here is the regular open at 8:30. And it was all downhill after this. This is really a weak downtrend channel. You could actually trade this both ways, the yellow one. The blue one now, stay with the downtrend. Notice we got the overshoot, the break, move to a new low, and then we spent the rest of the day in this yellow channel. So, and it's you can see our prices. Notice here our prices are all consistently below the EMA. That's a downtrend. Obviously, this yellow one is a down channel, but look how prices are above and below, above and below, above and below. You can trade that both ways. It's more sideways, even though it has a downward slant. It's very weak. And it has that side, as long as it's above and below the EMA like that, you can trade it both ways. Just be real careful, make sure you're reading it properly. You're better off to stay with a bias, but you can trade it both ways. So, but let's back out here, talk about the trades, and wrap this day up where I can get moving here. But 7 o'clock came just as we're getting into this congestion. This is congestive, but notice that what you've got is you got a leg down and you got a little two-legged correction and then a second leg down. So it's really two legs down. If you understand what's going on there, this is one of those times where if you understand what's going on, it's all right to trade in congestion. And technically, you could really go long here. I actually missed this one right here. I should have had this one marked, but you could technically go long here. I'm going to go ahead and make that one green with the understanding that you understand this is a two-legged correction, and on a bigger picture, this is probably a second entry. But on our chart, this is a first entry, second entry, third entry. So for that reason, I'm going to mark it green. But anyway, let's talk about the short. Let's get to the short first, then we'll move on. But notice that you tried to go higher once, twice, and that's going to be a second entry long failure. Look how long we've been away from the EMA for hours and hours. So we're way overdue. I like trading that as a trap because it's probably going to be a quick, easy scalp. Again, if you're not a very skilled chart reader and you're new to this, forget about failures. You only want to trade second entries and you want to trade the good ones. And obviously that's not good enough for a second entry. The only reason we're trading this one is because it's going to act like a long trap. And it's going to send prices probably on a measured leg down to the EMA. And that's what you get. And this signal bar, again, if you look at it, it's really a second entry because the whole idea behind second entries, we're just looking for two moves. The market moves in twos. So we're looking for two legs of correction and then the market continuing on again. So that's really all we're looking for with second entries. It just helps you identify two legs of correction. And you can clearly see There's a leg down, two-legged correction, which is usually the center of a pattern, and then another leg down, and then it corrects. So if you're looking at this at a slightly bigger level, that's going to be a second entry. On this chart, it's not a second entry though, so don't send me an email asking me, how's that a second entry? Because it's not on this chart. If you didn't understand what I just explained, go back and listen to it a few times. On a little slightly larger chart, it will be a second entry because you won't see this little tick up here. You'll probably just see a leg down, a move up, and another leg down. But it's still a second entry because it's two legs of correction. So if you understand that, you might go long right there. You're probably better to wait on the higher low, which comes right here, and just go long one tick there. And you can see that's where all the smart traders poured in. Boom, off it goes. You got your break, two legs of correction, and a move to a new high, and then it reverses. Perfect price action, basically. It doesn't get much better than that. But notice that you're moving down. You've got your new high, and you got that little push up, and then you got a lower high. I marked this one. Actually, this is supposed to be here. I meant to mark this one green. This is a lower high after this high. It's right into the EMA. So, I didn't even really want to mark this one green, but I will just simply because there's some reasons to be interested in this, but I think it's too early and it looks congested. I'm just going to change it because I really don't like, I wouldn't take that trade, so I'm not even going to mark it green. But when it breaks higher the second time and fails and turns down, I like going short one tick below this. If it breaks, if you get a break higher and then it turns down, you can go short one tick below this bar, but really you're better off to wait on this one and just go short right there, one tick below that. And then it's all, and if you catch this one trade, that's all you need for the day. It's off to the races. And it's just too far away from the EMA, not any good setups down here. Just wait for it to correct. And then it comes back, and you get a lower high on what confirms this downtrend right here. And I like going short right there. Unfortunately, that's just a first entry, and it's a little bit sideways. So wait on this trap. Wait on the second attempt to go higher. And the even better ones to wait on the failed second entry long. But again, that's a more, it's a little bit more of a advanced trade. So most of you learned wouldn't want to take this. You'd want to enter here. But I like entering right here as well. And again, if you catch this one, boom, it's off to the races. Probably all you need for the day. And of course, we get a little overshoot down here. Get this overshoot. It actually goes a little lower and tests it, and then you're working higher. There's a second entry short right there, but the signal bars are no good. You get a lower high here, but that's too congestive. And then you get a failed second entry long, and I like that one. Notice this is the first break of this blue trend channel, and we haven't made a new low yet. So when you get that trap, I like taking that one. You might wait on the lower high, especially if you're a less experienced chart trader, and that's here, and it actually breaks higher and fails and turns down. I'd probably still tell most of you to wait on this bar to close, just to make sure it's going to be bearish, and then go short. You don't have a lot of room there, so you want to be real careful. You might let it break lower and drop a limit order back right here, and it would have probably filled you. And you actually get a failed second entry long right here, but you're going short within a couple of ticks of the low of the day at this point, and you've already got a new low in place, so I don't think it's wise to go short right there. And then of course you got a first entry. And this is actually a second entry short that fails, but I didn't mark that one. If you saw what was going on, you might take that if you understood that's a failed second entry short. It's a little complicated because notice we're working up and then you go short right there, and then you correct and go higher again, and you make those two bar matching lows. So when it breaks, turns back down there, that's the second attempt to go lower after a correction. And so it is a second entry short. You don't want to take a short there because of all that stacked up and the fact that we've got a break and a new low, but it probably makes a good long. It's also a second entry long, although the signal bar wouldn't qualify for a second entry long. But if you see the trap too, it qualifies. The other problem with this, on it being a trap, is it's not really a reversal pattern, but it's still going to act as a trap most likely. To be a reversal, it would need to be above the EMA and pull back. So, but I still like this one for an aggressive trade because of notice that new swing high, it's higher than that one. So that's a first entry, and then when it breaks higher right here above this bar, that's a second entry long. Again, that's not a good enough signal bar for a second entry, but if you see the failed second entry short, I don't have a problem with you taking that. And of course, we run back up, and if you should have drawn your trend line right there. We actually confirmed it here, but we come back and confirm it right there. And I didn't mark this one, but this broke higher first and turned down. The problem is you could go short one tick below that, but if you wait till here, it's right into the EMA, right into the midline, and it looks like we got a little uptrend working, although the bigger yellow channel is still in play. Let's just give this a little different flavor here, just so you can see it. But you got the blue one working up, but the thing is, the bigger pattern we normally win out. Not always, but normally. And it wins out here, of course. So you might have taken that short when it broke higher on an engulfing bar. It's a little aggressive. I'll mark it green. And then there's a lower high right here, but not a good enough signal bar. And I wouldn't count that as a failed second entry long because it only looks like one leg down and one leg up at this point. So I don't think it's a good enough signal bar. It does break higher right here and turn down, and I didn't mark that one, but you should at least give that one a green. The reason I didn't is because it's into the blue trend line, but you can clearly see the yellow one's overpowering it, and when it pushed on through, so you may take that one. I think you're better off to wait since it's right into that trend line right there, and we did just try to bounce off of it, but I guarantee you they're going to trap some people right there, and that's probably going to get at least a scalp, even if we're going to try to make a retest of the high. And even on this break, they attempted a retest, but the market's just too weak and it falls off again. But notice you get a first entry and a second entry short right there on that retest, and we can't even get back up to the trend line. Fairly decent bar. I like going short there, and look at it go. Off it goes on that second entry short. Runs down to the lows. I think I've got this off just a hair right here. Put it up there at the closes. And you can see we bounced right off of it. And you get a first entry. Actually, you get a first entry and a second entry. And this is just sideways stuff, so it doesn't matter anyway. But notice this new low, and then you try to go lower, and then you move up, and you try to go lower again. It doesn't break lower right there. But this is a classic reversal type pattern, other than the fact that it doesn't break lower right there. But it's still probably going to act like one. And we did just come off the lows, so we're probably headed back to the highs. And of course, we actually get a break this time. So I like going long there. It's not a perfect setup, so I didn't mark it blue. But if you recognize what's going on there, you may take that trade. There's actually a true failure right here, but it's a little bit away from the EMA, although it is right on that key entry point, and prices did come back. Notice when they push through the midline of this yellow channel that they come back and test it. So that's another one that you might consider, but it's not perfect because it's not off the EMA. You want to see it off the EMA, but you can see it still works out. And that takes us into 2 o'clock, which we do get a break here. We continue working lower until we get a new low in place. And you can see we made the new low, and we look like we may rally from there. But that's what I saw today. It's really, like I said, from the open, it was all downhill, although this yellow is very weak downtrend. It's still a downtrend. It's still a valid channel, and you can see it right there. It's holding prices neatly. You can see prices working off the bid line, and even into the overnight hours. It's still inside and bouncing off the trend and the trend channel line. Of course, this is the trend line working down, and the other side is just the trend channel. When you're working up, that's your trend line working up, and the other side is the trend channel. This one's probably a little bit higher. And so relatively straightforward price action. And this is not uncommon to get a break in a new low because this channel is too steep. Although this one's rather weak, this one's definitely too steep, and they won't last very long. And a lot of times that's what they'll do. They'll fold over to a flatter channel. Sometimes they'll fold into the 45 degree. A good healthy channel is about a 45 degree angle, so that would be from corner to corner of your screen. And you can see that's just too steep, and this one's too flat for 45 degrees. So neither one of them are healthy trends. This one's too strong, so it's probably not going to last, and this one's too weak, so it's probably not going to last either. But that's what I saw today. So fairly straightforward day. Nothing out of the ordinary here really today. A lot of times people will have a hard time with this because you do get your break in a new low, and then they're just expecting every time for it to reverse, and it doesn't. So look for these secondary channels like this, and you can clearly see that yellow channel is in play. So you got to learn to see those, and it's a skill. You got to work on it. Time at the screen and studying your charts is how you get better. If you just come in and trade every day and then you close up and go home, you're not going to get much better. And I say that a lot, and people just, for whatever reason, people don't hear it or they don't listen. So make sure you hear that. If you just come in and trade every day and then close up shop and don't study your trades and your charts, you're not going to get much better at this. What makes you better is the actual study of your charts and the study of your trades. You got to learn your tendencies by studying your trades and correcting them and learning to see what you're missing and what your good tendencies are and what your bad tendencies are. And that's how you get better at this. So make sure that you don't just trade every day and close up and go home and wonder why you don't get better, because you're not going to get better, I'm telling you. The way you get better at this, and that's why I do this chart lesson still today, 12 or 13 years after I first started doing it, because it helps. The reason I originally started doing this and putting it on YouTube is because it forced me to read my chart. And it helped me to get better every day. And it still is why I like to do it, because I'm going to do the chart study anyway. Even today, after all these years, I still study my chart every single day. I have to put this up here because I don't take all these trades. Any of you that have been around a while, you know, these are not my trades. I may or may not have taken some of these trades because they meet our criteria. And if I'm trading, I'm going to take some of them. But I don't take them all. I only take 2 or 3 trades a day, and sometimes I don't even do that anymore. If I see a good trade, I take it, and I'll usually trade from about 7 to, I would say on average from 7 to 10, but my trading hours are usually 7 to noon. That's what I kind of look for my trades. But on average, you know, if it's a good morning, I'm probably done by 10 o'clock because I'm not going to sit around here and trade all day. I take a few trades and reach my monetary target, and then I'm done. I close up. This is a job for me. I do my daily job, make my money, and then I'm on to doing something else, working on the website and reading emails and reading the forum and all that. And there's not enough hours in the day to do what I need to do as it is. So if I sat here and traded all day, there's no way I could run the website and do this chart. I mean, it's 7 o'clock and I'm still at the office it's Tuesday, but it's like a Monday for me. So I'm trying to catch up. And so this is a busy. You got to put the time in to be good at this. So I didn't mean to get off on this tangent, but just kind of was a natural progression. But I want to make sure I say it enough that the way you get better at this is to study your chart and your charts and your trades. And if you don't study them, you're not going to get much better. So just keep that in mind. Make sure that you make that a priority. If you want to really if you're doing this for anything more than a hobby and for fun, then you need to be studying your charts every day. Even when you're starting to get good at this, study your charts. First thing you want to do is study all your trades. Then go back and study the chart. And what do you look for when you go back to study the chart? Look where all the big moves originate from. And I'll just show you. Look at this big move here. Where's it at? It's off the trend line, the key entry point. Where did this move originate from? Off the trend line, the key entry point. Where did this move originate from? Then you get the break and it's off the EMA. Then you're working down. Where does the big move originates off this key entry point, off this key entry point, off this key entry point. Then you get the break, and it's around the EMA. It's finally right at the EMA. Then you're working up here. Where does where does the next big move come from? It's off that key entry point. We move back up. We get back up near the key entry point, and then you're moving down strongly again. So all your moves are going to come from the key entry points. So study your charts, and you can see that over and over. And learn to put your trends and your trend lines and your trend channel lines on these charts. And what you'll find out is you can identify those trend lines after the fact easily. But if you draw them the way I teach you, most of the time you can find them early. This one was pretty easy to find early. Originally, well, actually I didn't on this, but normally you'd probably have it a little steeper. But by the time 7 o'clock comes in, you already see these other moves, and you draw it right up through there. And you'll see that some on the after the overnight hours is you'll get a break sometimes early on, but it doesn't really affect the channel. You won't see that near as much in the regular hours, but you'll see it some because there's just not enough volume in here, and you get some you just don't have much volume, and it doesn't take much to move it a little bit, and sometimes it'll move a little further than it probably should have because there's just not much volume. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. It'll be another short week this week since we lost our Monday trading day. But I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.